I came home late from a wild party. When he didn't believe my excuse, he filed for divorce. I always believed I had the perfect life, a loving husband, a beautiful home, and the kind of stability many people only dream of. Daniel and I had been together for years, and through every up and down, I was certain we were unbreakable. He was my rock, the kind of man who never raised his voice, never lost his temper, and always made me feel safe. He worked hard, treated me with kindness, and loved me with a quiet, steady devotion that I had come to rely on. But if I'm being honest, I never really understood how much that meant. I've always been different from Daniel. Where he found joy in quiet evenings and simple routines, I craved excitement. I was the kind of person who thrived on social energy, who loved being out surrounded by music, laughter, and the buzz of conversation. I wasn't reckless, not in a way that I thought was dangerous, but I loved parties. I loved losing myself in the night, loved the feeling of being young and free. Daniel never tried to stop me. He didn't complain when I stayed out late with friends or rolled into bed hours after he had fallen asleep. He trusted me. That was the kind of man he was. He didn't believe in control, in ultimatums, in telling me what I could and couldn't do. He only ever asked for one thing: honesty. It was something he always talked about, something he told me from the beginning of our relationship. "I don't care what you do, as long as you're honest with me," he had said once, holding my hands in his. "Just don't lie to me, don't make me doubt you, because once trust is broken, it's hard to rebuild." At the time, I had nodded, promising him that it would never be a problem, because why would it? I loved him. I wasn't the kind of person who cheated or betrayed people. I wasn't doing anything wrong. But I never realized that sometimes it's not just about the big betrayals. Sometimes trust erodes slowly, piece by piece, through the little things we dismiss as harmless. I always brushed off Daniel's worries. If I came home later than expected, I'd joke about it. If I ignored his text for hours, I'd tell him he was being dramatic, tease him for being so cautious, so serious all the time. "You worry too much," I'd say with a laugh, kissing his cheek as I climbed into bed next to him. "You know I'd never do anything to hurt you," and he'd smile, pull me close, and let it go because he trusted me. But trust isn't an endless wall, it has a limit, and I was too blind to see that I was slowly, carelessly draining his. The night everything changed wasn't supposed to be anything special. It was just another party, another night out with friends. I wasn't even planning to stay out that late. Daniel and I had plans the next morning, and I had promised him that I would be home before midnight. But the thing about nights like that is they have a way of pulling you in. The music, the drinks, the energy was intoxicating. I lost track of time. Every time I glanced at my phone, I told myself I'd leave soon, just one more drink, just one more song. My friends begged me to stay, and I laughed, giving in too easily, too thoughtlessly. Then my phone died. Even then, I didn't panic. I didn't think it was a big deal. It wasn't like Daniel was going to think the worst. He trusted me. I didn't know that at home he was sitting in the dark, watching the clock, feeling the last bits of his trust in me slipping through his fingers. I didn't know that this was the night that would break us. By the time I finally walked through the front door, I expected nothing more than mild irritation. Maybe he'd sigh, shake his head, tell me I needed to be more responsible. I was prepared for an exasperated look, a teasing remark, maybe a small argument that would blow over by morning. Instead, I found Daniel sitting in the living room, wide awake, his face unreadable. And the moment our eyes met, I knew this wasn't going to be just another night, this wasn't going to be another harmless mistake. Something was different, something had changed. I had no idea that I had just made the worst mistake of my life. The invitation came unexpectedly. A friend from college was hosting an exclusive party, the kind with a guest list full of influencers, musicians, and the kind of people who seemed to live effortlessly exciting lives. It wasn't the kind of event I normally got to attend, and the moment I saw the message, I felt a familiar thrill run through me. I showed Daniel the invite over dinner, already knowing what he'd say. He gave me that small knowing smile, the one that said he was already resigned to my decision. "Just don't stay out too late," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "We have plans tomorrow morning, remember?" I waved him off, laughing. Of course, I remember. I'll be home by midnight. It was a promise I meant in that moment, but one I wouldn't keep. The party was everything I imagined it would be: glowing lights, music that vibrated through my skin, expensive cocktails, and delicate glasses, and people who seemed larger than life. My friends and I slipped into the scene effortlessly, toasting to the night, losing ourselves in the pulsing energy. At first, I kept an eye on the time, fully intending to leave before it got too late. But every time I reached for my phone, someone handed me another drink, pulled me onto the dance floor, or introduced me to someone new. Midnight came and went in a blur of laughter and music, and I barely noticed. Then I felt my phone vibrate. When I glanced at the screen, I saw Daniel's name, a missed call, then another, and several unread messages. "Daniel, are you on your way home? Daniel, it's getting late, let me know when you're leaving." For a split second, guilt pricked at me, but then one of my friends grabbed my arm, spinning me around with a playful grin. "You're not leaving yet, are you?" I hesitated, but only for a moment. "Just a little longer," I said, slipping my phone back into my bag. It was easy to ignore the texts after that, easy to convince myself that Daniel was just being overly cautious, that he was worrying for no reason. He always did. I wasn't doing anything wrong, I wasn't with anyone I shouldn't be. I was just having fun. Hours blurred together, the party shifted from one club to another, then to a penthouse after-party that promised an even more exclusive crowd. It was nearly 3 a.m. when I finally felt exhaustion creeping in. My head was buzzing from the alcohol, my feet sore from dancing, and I suddenly realized just how late it was. I pulled out my phone, meaning to call Daniel to reassure him that I was on my way, but when I pressed the power button, nothing happened. It was dead. A small ripple of panic ran through me, but I shook it off. I could just call an Uber and get home, no big deal. But as I searched my bag, another problem presented itself. I couldn't find my car keys. Had I even brought them? I swore I had, but in the haze of the night, I couldn't remember. Frustrated, I turned to my friends. One of them was just as drunk as I was, giggling as she scrolled through her phone. Another was passed out on the couch, completely oblivious. None of them seemed worried about how late it was. I need to get home, I muttered, more to myself than anyone else. Someone offered to call me an Uber, but the app was taking forever to load. Another friend needed help getting home, and against my better judgment, I let myself get caught up in making sure she was safe. The minutes dragged on, stretching into an hour by the time I finally stepped into a cab.